Welcome back to part 4 of my guide to genetic archives. Today I'll be covering the 2 different routes to Phagetech Prototypes and their respective challenges in Phagetech Prototypes, the 4th boss of genetic archives. Recall that killing Phagetech Guardian C432 opened one of the 2 doors to Phagetech Prototypes. Check your event log or map to see which path you must take. Regardless of which path you end up taking, the trash packs will be similar to that of those on the way to Phagemon, so I will not be going over those fights again. If you take the bottom path, you will be asked to defeat the corrupted beasts. While on the way to the beast room, you will encounter a new type of trash mob guarding the door to the event room called the Phageborn Crawler. It has 5 interrupt armors and doesn't really do anything noteworthy, so just group them up and cleave. The challenge for the beast room is Who Let the Dogs Out, which requires you to kill 7 corrupted beasts within 10 seconds. Note that like the Nanite Fill room, you will receive 1 piece of loot just for completing the event. The beast room features 7 shield generators that imprison the 7 corrupted beasts. The 7 shield generators have varying health points and lose their health points when caged beasts attack them. When a shield generator is destroyed, a beast is freed. The generators can be healed by healers and damaged by DPS. The beasts have infinite interrupt armors and can cast Bestial Scourge, an 8-second channeling spell that puts a series of red circular telegraphs on the random players that completes after 1 second, dealing damage to players in them. Bestial Scourge does a decent amount of damage and should be avoided. The beasts can also cast Aberrant Bite, a 0.8 second cast spell that does damage in a frontal cone. To complete the encounter, the raid must delay the beasts from freeing themselves by having healers heal the shield generators. The generators take reduced healing and the ones closer to the door starts with less HP. I recommend having 2 tanks and 7 healers for this encounter. 1 healer for the raid, and 1 for each of the 6 generators the raid is not starting on. Have all the generator healers dump heals onto the generator closest to the door, then move to their assigned generators. Meanwhile, DPS should go to the other generator closest to the door and destroy the generator and free the first beast. Work your way down by communicating with the healers. Who Let the Dogs Out is by far the hardest challenge out of the 4 rooms. To complete the challenge, the raid has to get each of the beasts relatively low and have the off-tank taunt and kite the beasts until all 7 are low enough for a burn. Our Stalker off-tank was able to kite the beasts around the room by himself without a dedicated healer, because the beasts often stop to cast Bestial Scourge. We communicate to the off-tank when it is time to circle around to taunt off a new beast. During the last beast, have 1 or a few ranged DPS go and make sure the other 6 beasts are low enough for a burn. They should be at around 100 to 200k before the collapse. As soon as the first beast dies, the challenge will appear in your event log and a 10-second timer will begin. Kill all 7 beasts before the timer runs out and you will complete the challenge. On the other hand, if you are taking the top path, you will be asked to defeat the Paragons of Symbiosis. The challenge for the Symbiosis room is Alone in the Dark, which requires you to defeat the Paragons of Symbiosis without anyone in the raid being hit by a reverberating shockwave. Note that similar to the Centrifuge room, clearing the room alone does not give you any loot. The Symbiosis room will spawn 4 ultimate symbiotes 15 seconds after you've entered the room. 1 will spawn at each of the 4 quadrants in the room: Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, and Northwest. The ultimate symbiotes are similar to the genetic symbiotes on the first floor. They both cast symbiotic shockwaves, and must be killed within 10 seconds of each other due to symbiotic reconstruction. The ultimate symbiotes, however, do some things different. First, the 4 ultimate symbiotes do not need tanks, as they chain cast uninterruptible symbiotic shockwaves. Second, they periodically do something similar to Kurelak's Vanish into Darkness, where they temporarily blind the raid and teleport to a random place within their respective quadrants. After the teleport, they will each cast Reverberating Shockwave, a 4-second cast that damages the entire raid upon completion. Having 3 or 4 of the shockwaves go off will wipe the raid. To complete the challenge, you must interrupt every single reverberating shockwave during the encounter. The symbiotes have no interrupt armors. Interrupting reverberating shockwave will put them into a 10-second moment of opportunity. I recommend having as many DPS as possible for this room and split them into 4 relatively equal groups. Have the groups dodge symbiotic shockwaves while interrupting reverberating shockwaves until each of the symbiotes are around 200k HP. Wait for a new round of blinds and kill the symbiotes during the moment of opportunity. Completing the challenge gives you 2 pieces of loot. Next, have a scientist capable of stealth or aggro drop make his or her way to the prototypes room and summon the rest of the raid. If you cannot skip the trash, simply take some time to do them. If you skip the trash, make sure to go back and clear the single pack of trash guarding the graveyard outside of the boss room. Phagetech Prototypes is a fight that emphasizes on survival and raid coordination. Although the encounter has a softened rage timer, DPS will not be an issue if you do the fight correctly. This fight requires 2 tanks and 3 to 5 healers. Before jumping into the fight, let me explain its general mechanics. Phagetech Prototypes are in actuality 4 separate bosses: Phagetech Commander, Augmenter, Protector, and Fabricator. The prototypes share health points, so whatever damage you deal to one is shared by all 4. This makes cleaving prototypes something that needs to be done throughout the encounter. Each of the prototypes has 1 power-up ability that is casted once when it powers up, and 2 abilities during its power cycle. Each prototype also has a challenge during the encounter. With the exception of the first 20 seconds of the fight, you will be fighting 2 prototypes at any given time until the soften rage. After the first 20 seconds, a second prototype will power up, and for every minute after that, the earlier prototype will power down and a new prototype will power up. The orders will always be the same, so a rough timeline looks like this. After each prototype has powered down twice, it will no longer power down, creating a soften rage time. Therefore, at approximately 9 minutes and 20 seconds into the fight, the Protector will power up without the Commander powering down. Now that you know when things will happen, I will explain the where and how. It is important to plan where you're going to power down each of the prototypes so you can maximize DPS and minimize travel time. The only prototype that cannot be stacked and cleaved with others is the Augmenter, because it summons repair bots that will heal the prototypes at 8% if the repair bot reaches the other active prototype. Therefore, your raid should deliberately plan where the tank will move each prototype during its power cycle in order to power down the Augmenter by itself and the other 3 prototypes near each other after the first full power cycle. I will explain how my guild does it. Keep in mind that this is definitely not the only way to do the fight. The prototypes spawn at these 4 spots. We have our main tank engage the Commander and DPS it where it spawns for the first 20 seconds. When the Augmenter powers up, the off tank picks it up and the DPS switches to the Augmenter. The off tank moves the Augmenter slightly away from the Commander while the main tank slowly moves the Commander to the Protector for the swap. By the time the Protector powers up, the Commander is near the Protector's spawn spot, offset slightly to the west wall, the wall where we'll eventually do the cleaving at. The main tank picks up the Protector and drags him to the west wall. Meanwhile, the off tank slowly moves the Augmenter along the circle's east side. DPS stays on the Augmenter during this cycle. By the time the Fabricator powers up, the off tank should be close enough to its spawn spot to pick it up, but not too close to risk having a repair bot instantly heal the Fabricator during the switch. Main tank stays on the west wall with its Protector. Next, the off tank drops the Fabricator to the wall where the Protector is and the DPS cleaves both for the remainder of the cycle. A few seconds before the Protector powers down, the off tank taunts the Protector while the main tank runs towards the Commander. The Commander is picked up and dragged to the west wall after its power-up ability to be cleaved with the Fabricator. A few seconds before the Fabricator powers down, the main tank taunts the Fabricator while the off tank gets into position to pick up the Augmenter. The DPS will switch to the Augmenter while the off tank moves the Augmenter to a safe distance away from the Commander. The main tank will move the Commander to where the Protector is for the next power cycle. When the Protector powers up, the Commander will power down. The main tank grabs the Protector and stays at the west wall while the off tank moves close enough to the Fabricator for a quick swap for the next power cycle. When the Fabricator powers up, the Augmenter will power down. The off tank grabs the Fabricator and drags it to the Protector. Both the Fabricator and the Protector should now be on top of the powered down Commander. DPS will cleave both prototypes for the remainder of the power cycle. Next, the Protector will power down and the Commander will power up. Stay in the same place and cleave the Fabricator and the Commander. If the boss is not dead by the end of this power cycle, have the main tank taunt the Fabricator a few seconds before the end of the cycle, while the off tank and the DPS move to the Augmenter. You can try to move the Augmenter close enough for cleaves without stacking the prototypes if you really need the extra DPS and can manage to instant stun the repair bots when they spawn. After this power cycle, the soften rage timer is hit and the Protector will power up without the Commander powering down. Now let's get the fight started. I will explain each prototype's power up and power cycle abilities during the fight as well as their challenges. The first prototype you'll encounter is the Commander. It has 4 interrupt armors and its challenge is Production Halted. which is completed if you defeat the prototypes without allowing the commander to cast Force Production. The commander's power-up ability is Links, which will put a bright yellow chain linking multiple pairs of raid members together. Those chains will take increasing damage over time until the link is broken. To break this link, the pair members must run away from each other. The commander has two abilities during its power cycle. First, Destruction Protocol, an uninterruptible 4.5 second channel that stuns and deals damage to the tank. Make sure to give the tank extra heals during this cast. The second ability is Forced Production, an interruptible 5-second cast spell that will cause all active bots to cast all of their abilities. When paired with the Augmenter and the Fabricator, Forced Production can often result in double repair bots and destructo constructs. You don't have to interrupt Forced Production when the commander is paired with the Augmenter, but I recommend interrupting the spell when the commander is paired with the Fabricator. Once you get more familiar with the fight, you can assign 1 or 2 members to interrupt every Forced Production for the challenge. Its cooldown is approximately 35 seconds. Next is the Augmenter. It has infinite interrupt armors, and its challenge is Phagetech Phase Dancer, which is completed if you defeat the prototypes without anyone remaining in the phase round for more than 10 seconds. The Augmenter's power-up ability is Augmented Reality, which puts 5 random members not at the top of the threat table into the phase round. Inside the phase round, a color circle will appear under each member, and those members must travel to the corresponding larger color circles around the room. Note that the floor damages you, so try to use travel abilities or double jump on your way to the larger color circles. Once everyone reaches their circles, you will exit the phase round and a small circle will appear under each of the 5 members, leaving a trail of glowing green circles on the floor. The green circles give increased assault and support power, so be sure to draw them all around the raid members. The Augmenter has 2 abilities during its power cycle. First is Summon Repair Bot, which spawns a maintenance bot after a short cast on whoever is tanking the Augmenter. The bot will travel towards the other active prototype. If it reaches that prototype, it will heal the prototypes by 8%, stun the bots as soon as they spawn and cleave them down with the Augmenter. The Augmenter also casts Borer, 4 waves of cross-shaped telegraphs that will spawn under random members, dealing damage after 1 second. Next up, the Protector. It has infinite interrupt armors and its challenge is Event Horizon, which is completed if you defeat the prototypes without allowing a gravitational singularity to survive for more than 15 seconds. The Protector's power-up ability is Singularity, which spawns a gravitational singularity at the center of the room that slowly moves towards the Protector. The singularity will suck a minimum of 5 closest raid members into it. The singularity consists of a small circular telegraph surrounded by a large donut-shaped telegraph with a safe zone in between them. To free the members, the singularity in the center must be DPS down by those inside the singularity and range DPS outside of it. Note that the Augmenter often casts Borer while the members are inside the singularity. This makes dodging the Borers more difficult and can often result in deaths. Make sure all the range DPS help kill the singularity. The Protector has 2 abilities during its power cycle. First is Waves, which causes the Protector to jump up into the air and slam down on the ground, knocking back anyone within a close proximity and spawning waves of telegraphs that moves outward across the entire room. The telegraphs are easy to dodge at a distance. For those close to the boss, simply run back into the safe zone under the boss after the knockback. Second is Defensive Translocation, which causes the Protector to switch place with an active prototype. The threat tables do not change and each prototype will return to its original tanks. When a Protector is paired with the Augmenter, have the raid run to the Augmenter after the translocation. Note that repair bots can spawn during this time, so be ready to stun them. Finally is the Fabricator. It has infinite interrupt armors and its challenge is Cut the Red Wire, which is completed if you defeat the prototypes while destroying each destructo construct within 5 seconds of its creation. The Fabricator's power-up ability is Flares, which spawns small circular telegraphs around the room that appears close to the Fabricator at first, but slowly spawns further and further away. If no one stands on the flares, they will explode, each dealing 10,000 damage to the entire raid. If someone stands on the flares, they will each deal 5,000 damage to those inside. Therefore, have the ranged DPS and 1 or 2 healers spread out to eat the flares. The Fabricator likewise has 2 abilities during its power cycle. First is Summon Destructobots, which spawns 3 Destructobots on the Fabricator that travels to random locations. When they reach their destination, they will cast Self-Destruct. If this cast completes, anyone inside the telegraph will die, and the bots will leave behind a large circular telegraph on the ground for the remainder of the encounter. This is why I recommend tanking the Fabricator next to a wall, as that restricts where the Destructobots can go. The majority of the damage should be done to these bots when they spawn with cleaves. I recommend having ranged DPS chase the bots down to finish them off if necessary. Second, the Fabricator periodically deals minor unavoidable raid damage to the entire raid that needs to be healed up. Keep in mind that after each of the Fabricator's power cycle comes the Commander. Pay attention to the links, and the forced production must be interrupted to avoid spawning 6 Destructobots at once. After that, simply repeat the cycle with your pre-planned route. If you're cleaving the prototypes at every opportunity, they should be dead before the soft enrage sets in. Part 5 of this guide will feature Phage-born conversions, the 5th boss of Genetic Archives, and the challenge in the event room on the way to them. Please like and subscribe if you find this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.